The UN Climate Summit in Glasgow is ending today with pressure mounting on negotiators from nearly 200 governments to try to strike a deal on how to tackle climate change. Well, after all-night talks behind closed doors, a new draft agreement has been released. This draft softens the language requiring governments to phase out the use of coal and other fossil fuels. However, several key clauses have been strengthened, including telling ministers to get together again next year, bringing promises of deeper emissions cuts. And that is seen as vital. Well, the text expresses deep regret that rich nations failed to deliver the $100 billion a year they had promised poorer nations. And most analysts believe that this new agreement would not keep global temperature rises to 1.5 degrees, a figure scientists say is crucial in avoiding the worst effects of climate change.
This is our collective moment in history. This is our chance to forge a cleaner, healthier, more prosperous world. And this is our time to deliver on the high ambition set by our leaders at the start of this summit. We must rise to the occasion. We have come a long way over the past 2 weeks, and now we need that final injection of that can-do spirit which is present at this COP, so that we get this shared endeavor over the line.
We will continue to champion 1.5, which is our coalition's North Star. Fossil fuel subsidies must end. We must double adaptation finance from current levels. Loss and damage is too central for us to settle for workshops. We must strengthen action on loss and damage. And we need an Article 6 resolution that results in real reductions. The zero-sum offsetting era must end.
A lot to be done. The text is the bare minimum we need to walk away with, bare minimum. The challenge now is for those of us who are progressive to hold the line. We need to hold the line. We owe our children, our grandchildren. This is critical now. So the next few hours are going to determine the new dawn.
Well, to discuss some of these agreements and the takeaways from this summit, let's bring in environmentalist Paddy Ezeala. Paddy, glad to have you join us.
Thank you very much.
Let me start it from where my colleague Ngozi ended that story she just read a while ago. There's been a tempering of language in the final agreement of coal and fossil fuels. What message is that sending? India, by the way, the second largest user of coal, is not part of the international alliance phasing out coal.
Well, one characteristic of this COP26 actually is the ambitious agenda set initially, and again the agreement they arrived at also a little bit ambitious too. That's good, nothing bad with that. But we should also understand that when reaching these agreements, countries are there to protect their interests, their economies, and it's not a question of agreeing to everything. The whole countries are ready to do what is required, but at what time? What makes an agreement ambitious is when you set it too close. People start wondering, going to phase out fossil fuel and other, when people are constructing refineries, things like that. So I think it's a good one. We are not saying that everything is going to be met immediately, even when it's desirable. Climate change is an urgent situation, and we must respond urgently. And for us in Africa, in Nigeria, when we look at some of these agreements, we also look at ourselves, because that's COP26 or even the 25 COPs that have gone before it are there to set policy goals. The real action is local. The real action is in individual countries. You mentioned India now. India could play a central part of the whole that drives the economy. It's not as if they like the emissions, but they have also weighed it against their capacity to cope economically if there is a
sudden
or radical stop.
And that's a great point. Let me bring in the Nigerian aspect of it. I know
Yeah.
President Buhari did send a very strong message, and he actually, talked about the hypocrisy of the developed world, where they promised $100 billion every year since 2016, and none of that has been even achieved. And Vice President Oshibajo also argues that international funding for natural gas should not stop until it's comfortable for Nigeria to actually phase out. What do you make of this? Because just like we said, there seems to be a softening in language. The urgency, is it lacking as far as the...
Take Nigeria, for example. If there is a sudden stoppage of fossil fuel, you know what it's going to mean for our economy. We've been talking of diversification for close to 45 years. We've not achieved much in that direction. So when we are talking about fossil fuel, that is also just like coal is to India. It is central to. We are even not only using fossil, we are subsidizing it, which is another challenge to our economy. So it's advisable to even try to navigate away from it. But what capacity do we have to quicken that movement? So I quite understand all that.
How can we grow that capacity? That's very, very key.
It's first of all, there is BOGA, what they call beyond oil and gas. People are even campaigning on that. When I hear the gas on that, we have not even developed enough infrastructure to optimize the gains of having so much gas in our country, which is cleaner. It's a clean energy. I think that is what I suggest we go to for now. Navigate towards which I'm happy the president has hinted at.
Yes, he's hinted about it.
This president we have in Nigeria now, there's one good thing he has done. He has been present physically in most of the meetings held on this climate change. He takes it personal, he personalizes it and pushes it. But I have not seen the result. The 23rd of December 2019, he was at the Climate Action Summit. There he promised that he was going to mobilize Nigerian youth to plant 25 million trees. I keep repeating that whenever I must say. So how many trees have been planted since then? It's part of what is required of us. It may not be indicated in the nationally determined contribution.
And this cuts across all nations of the world. For example, I'm going to ask you, what should the poorer nations be doing now in the face of failure of the richer nations to make good on their $100 billion
that would be
promise?
A calamity if the richer nations continue to renege on their promise to provide these resources, $100 billion, for the mitigation and adaptation with regard to climate change. It's not going to work because the smaller countries in the southern hemisphere especially that are required to take action, that we are living where the resources that mitigate the climate change stay. When we don't have the resources to cope, it means we continue witnessing more tree felling, more erosions, more flooding, rising heat level, temperature levels, and things like that. So it is, I've used the word, it's calamitous. And we pray they don't continue to renege.
To fault on that. All right, we'll leave it there.
Thank you very much. Paddy Ezeala, environmentalist, joining us tonight on News Night.